knowing that I don't need you to validate me. When we say we're standing on the shoulders of our ancestors, well, we need to get off their shoulders and get to work, right? And so the Little Rock Nine are still here, and there's so much, or the Adam, there's so much we can learn from them. We miss so many opportunities to celebrate our similarities and our differences because we let society prescribe to us what we should be thinking. We let society dictate to us who we are, what we should believe in, instead of knowing who we are and moving away from the traps that are set. Those, those minefields are there, and we're constantly blowing ourselves up.
I guess I've been convinced that, and more than one person has said this, that you're not talking about yourself. You are sharing things that people need to know about. These are things that happen to real people, had impact on real families. And if nothing else, they need to know this so that it won't happen again. Because we're in a situation now where I think we need to be very cognizant of things that happen, why they happen, and what can be done to prevent them from happening again.
My mother had them to put on her credit card, Mrs. Lothair Green. And she said the reason she did that, she didn't want some clerk calling her girlie or auntie, some derogatory title. She'd have to call her, she'd buy her name on the card, which was Mrs. And calling somebody black Mrs. was probably a faux pas. They didn't think they had to do that. When they looked at her credit card, they didn't know whether Mrs. was her surname or what it was, but it was on the card. Somehow we had visionaries in our families who really thought that this was the right thing to do.
I'm beginning high school, and he closes all the high schools in the city. But it just messed up everything. When I say messed up, and I guess I had kind of made my mind up that I wasn't going to go the academic route through my life, because I wanted to see what else was out there. I wanted to see how that other side of that coin gets greased to make the other side act the way that it acts. You know what I'm saying? When I was in Glasgow, Montana, I think the tribe were Blackfoot. One time I went to where the government, what is it? The reservation. A cinder block place with the cutouts for the windows and just a rag hanging in the window. And I was up there, this was when it was cold. This government treated the native people on those reservations like a piece of garbage. I mean, just the fact now, today, there are organizations that have built up. There are folk out here now that are still pissed that Custer got wiped. When I say because they think that the white man, not for nothing, but when they came over here, they should have just wiped them all out.
Getting to know where the obstacles are, how you prepare for them. To me, that's one of the great things that we got out of Central.
I still think all people know too little about other people. You can't help, when you get to know people and know them as people without stereotyping, good things happen. I think about when Todd was in elementary school, and one of the things, again, this is from home, you never label people by color. That just was not. So I was trying to find out who his teacher was. So I said, well, what does she look like? She's okay. Okay. What color is her hair? I don't know, but what color are her eyes? I don't know. And I was not going to, so I found it was not until PTA that I went up there and I found out who she was. There is this, in some cases, this built-in stereotype that just some people can't get rid of. I often talk about my experience when I went to Australia. It was really good for me. I was walking down the street and I kept bumping into people. I said, okay, Triopa, you're doing something wrong. So I stood back against the building and I watched. And I realized that there everything went from the left and we're accustomed to doing things from the right, which taught me, said, just because you do something one way doesn't mean that it's wrong. Other people do things another way, and it's right. But I think so many times people don't, if anything is different, it's bad, it's negative. But it's such a rich experience to be around and to have experiences with people whose backgrounds and experiences are different from yours.
As we tried to put the stories shared by the Green siblings into context, we began to realize the importance of recognizing how our identities shift as we engage with others. We move back and forth among intersecting circles of identity that impact how we relate to others. Most of the time, we aren't even aware of the ways we navigate these identities. We developed this intersectional circles of identity graphic to explore how that happens.
No matter what family or community you're a part of, you have numerous skills, talents, perspectives, and abilities that make you unique. Stereotyping tends to flatten all individuality into one broad and exaggerating caricature based upon the larger group one is a part of. In this way, stereotyping is dehumanizing. When we stereotype an individual, we also attempt to steal the individual's right to engage with society in a way that's consistent with their own inherent right to define or name themselves.
Family is defined in different ways by different people, but every individual defines his or her own family at some point as they move into adulthood. Family members can become family because of births, marriages, ceremonies, adoptions, deep relationships, special circumstances, or simply by personal choice. However family is defined, it generally includes the first and most powerful set of relational influences individuals have, more influential than most other communities we may be a part of.
Most individuals are members of many communities. Some of these communities may be ones we choose, some may be categories others place us into based upon ethnicity, gender identity, national origin, color, body type, religious or political affiliation, hobby interest, sports team or music preference, or any number of other characteristics that may tend to create a common or shared identity within a community. Since we are members of many communities, occasionally we find ourselves members of communities that are in some way at odds with or in tension with each other. In this same way, we may find ourselves, by choice or by default, to be seen as envoys or ambassadors of one community within another.
In our conversations, Robin White asks some important questions about our humanity. Encompassing all of our individuality, our family and community identities, we are human beings. We are a humanity that makes us all family, whether we realize it or not. As Robin points out, there are consequences that come with extending our respect beyond our comfortable circles. Consequences that come with celebrating differences rather than fearing them. Robin reminds us in another statement that is now one of the guiding phrases for this project. You must take care of the root, for to heal the tree. Our common root draws upon our common humanity.